Hey, have you ever experienced pain in your lady parts? You're not alone. Over 14 million women just in the US have experienced it. So stay tuned to know more about how sensuality can help and also talking about this. I'm Candia Raquel, and you are at the Sensual Sessions Podcast, the place to explore sensing pleasure through your senses and moving in a way that it's free from inhibition and full of self expression. So make sure to subscribe in my website to get these episodes delivered on your inbox every week at candiaraquel.com, www.candiaraquel.com. And today we have a very special guest. She's Bonnie Gross. She's a filmmaker. She's the co-owner and producer for Brainwomb, and she's a writer and executive producer of the film Lady Parts. Welcome, Bonnie. I am so honored to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So, you you're saying in your website that Lady Parts is a dramedy film about vaginal self-care, and this film has been in the official selection of many films such as Sidewalk, Garden State, and La Femme International Film Festival. So I am very curious first to know more about what inspired you to create this very important revolutionary film about something that wasn't spoken enough and really needs to be at the center of conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lady Parts is based on my own true story of getting a vulvovaginal surgery and having to move back home with my parents. And I know what you're going to say, but it's a comedy. I promise it's a comedy. And I think what really sparked it was going through that surgery, that process, and feeling so isolated and alone through it, and feeling like so stigmatized, and I couldn't talk about it, and there was no research about it. And so it felt like the most isolating experience ever. So I was really committed to putting content out there about it because I think visibility is so important and key with this. Because if you see someone on the screen and you can be like, oh, wait, I have something like this, or I've gone through something like this, it can really help you get through whatever it is you're struggling with. For me, I had what's called neuroprolific vestibulodynia, which is a mouthful, and vaginismus. But basically, the opening of my vagina, the vestibule, had too many nerve endings, meaning anything that touched it felt like a hot knife digging in, which is so fun and awful. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is it's not just about sex. It's like sitting on a bike, putting in a tampon, wearing certain clothing, underwear, you name it. Um, and then I spent years getting medically gaslit from doctors. When I was 19 years old, I had a doctor tell me to try drinking wine to cure painful sex. And I've had them try to prescribe me on, anti-anxiety meds, tell me I'm crazy, tell me to just try yoga, the whole gambit of, I'm sure a bunch of us have experienced, not even just with like this condition, but with so many, especially like women and women of color. It's just insane. And so for me, when I finally found a doctor that could do the surgery, it was not covered by insurance. They called it cosmetic. Um, yeah, I know, it just keeps getting worse. And so then I moved back home with my parents, and I'm very lucky and privileged to have parents that were willing to take me in and, be so supportive in my own journey. And again, I think the film really focuses on that relationship because it's also important to show this is a conversation we can have. Just because of where it's located on my body doesn't mean we can't have a conversation about it. And I'm hoping other people can watch this and feel that same inspiration, whether they be a parent, sibling, teacher, partner, whoever it is, kind of normalizing.
Yeah, normalize having pain in the vulva, in your lady parts, on the vaginal entrance. And the I have only two reference about pain down there. The first is an informal one that if you haven't had sex in a while, then you're gonna get tighter
Mm,
and it's gonna be painful to go for intercourse. And I suspect that's a rumor, that's like a
Mm-hmm.
gossip spread by one
Gossip.
man. Yeah.
Yep.
And then we have the opposite saying that the other say the other day a barista at a cafe said that he had only been with 3 women and all of them were virgins, and he wouldn't like he planned on marrying this one, and he wouldn't go out with a woman that was not a virgin because then she would be loose down
uh,
the, and it was like, what,
what?
like to the point that I couldn't even say a word from the shock, because first and foremost, like, from where did you think you were birthed? Like, you came
What do you
from your
think
mom's
happens?
vagina, and you weren't like a thin baby the size of I don't know, a guava. Like, your baby head was not guava size. Babies
No.
come out like the size of a small watermelon or cantaloupe. Like, I mean, it's huge what has to go through the vaginal canal during childbirth. So it made no
Oh,
sense. And
and
secondly,
what? Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
I was going to say what doesn't make sense to me is that they're saying I'll be loose if I sleep with, three different women or not three different men, sorry. And then, but if I sleep with the same guy over and over again, I won't get loose. Like it makes the
Exactly.
logic is not there.
The
Like,
logic is not like, okay, so if you don't want your girlfriend, your wife to get loose, then you're gonna have to have sex only once a year. Like, if that's your
your
reasoning.
mindset.
Yeah. And like, if we are like, I had to go and check on anatomy, like what, like, I need to really scientifically confirm that those scientists also have huge bias paradigms as well. But
Mhm.
like, vaginas are actually naturally super loose. What is tight is the entrance, which is connected to the whole pelvic floor anatomy and its
Yes.
specific sphincter. But there was a beautiful like MRI with a huge study of women, and they made like an average shape of a vagina that was filled with an appropriate gel liquid, so they could capture the shape. And the vagina in the inside is like V-shaped, and it's super wide. And I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, because the times I have been doing self-pleasuring and self-explorations, like, I had that idea that my finger could go from one side to the other. Like, there's something very wide inside, but it was like, wow, this is the first time I see an image of the vagina with the
Mhm.
shape that it really is, and it's like a V shape, like a funnel shape. And the all the other models, even in anatomy books, vaginas are dick shape. They are like a tunnel,
Oh, it's all,
convention. And
yeah. Like the entire anatomy is based off a penis. Like there's
yeah,
nothing on the vulva or vagina, none of it's accurate. It's just like, here's what you have in regards to a penis shape. Best of luck. Like,
yeah. And it's like, no, I am not like the complementary shape of your penis. And it
yeah.
was so beautiful. Like, fortunately, there was a gift after that hideous comment, but it was and I mean, he's a very nice guy. I go to that coffee often. He's very open. He felt confident to the point of being able to say that in my presence, respectful and everything. But I realized that that's what he really thinks. He really believes because he haven't even think it through. Like, okay, if women get loose, then I shouldn't. My girlfriend is
Yeah.
gonna get loose if I have sex with her. But that's just like a little speck of the level of ignorance of, and I mean my own
Mm.
ignorance in regards to the shape of the vagina, because I never question it. And
No.
I am a biologist. I teach pelvic floor trainings, everything wonderful. And how come I had such a blind spot? And I mean, it's
Yeah,
so important what you're doing to bring awareness. So
too.
that was my first reference about
Yeah.
the vaginal pain. And the second was more formal. I have a colleague, a Pilates teacher trainer colleague that
Hmm.
is a retired gold Olympic medalist of snowboarding that
Oh,
had a
wow.
horrible, wow, but she
Yeah.
had a horrible accident and she landed in her seat bones. Luckily, she didn't fracture her coccyx, and luckily, she was so fucking strong that her pelvic floor spasmed to a point
Oh,
that it protected her organs, and she didn't have any bone fracture, but the blow, I mean, it was
oh
such
my
a hard
God.
blow that the muscular span like stayed like a chronic condition, and it took,
Hmm.
she was on a transparent liquid diet for over a year because the spasm was so hard that she was constipated. Like she couldn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
the proper shit because the whole system was stuck.
Clenched. Like,
Yeah, yeah, clenched like a tight fist.
yep.
And she shared with us that she had to, part of her rehab was to use a kit of say a kit of tampons with different shapes. There
Oh, the
were
dilators.
the
Dilators.
dilators, yeah,
Yes.
sorry, that's the proper term. And they were
Yeah.
like super thin. And she was like, after like 4 months of practicing with dilators, she was so proud to finally be able to insert a dilator the size of a pen. The size of a
Yes.
pen.
The size of a pen.
And that was like a huge realization. And to me it was so foreign. Like I felt the empathy and wanted to hug her, but I mean I just couldn't relate to what she was talking. And when I read an interview at the Substack of Ramona at midlife of your film, I was
Yes.
like, wow, all the dots connected, and I was like, bam, this is so important. This is
So
really
important.
so important because
Well,
and we all, just to close this,
yeah,
and
yeah, sorry.
and we have this idea that feminine pelvic floors and vaginas should
Hmm.
be super tight
Mm.
because otherwise the man is not going to feel anything. God
Oh, yeah.
forbid he
Oh, no,
leaves
not the
you
penis.
because, yeah, the penis again. And then you see like these trends with a million likes on Instagram of women doing vaginal weightlifting and then
Oh,
being very proud lifting a coconut. And I was like, oh no, like this is so detrimental for the pelvic floor anatomy and the anatomy of as a whole, because this is such an important part. And then we have the counterpart part, like, okay, now we're talking about a tight pelvic floor, a tight vagina, and a painful condition that is the topic
yeah.
of lady parts, and it's not talked about, and it's not something that
No.
is like a badge of honor, like now my vagina is super tight. And yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because like I have the nerve problem, but I also have like the I we always joke we're like tight pussy condition, but like it's the proper term, there's like vaginismus, pelvic floor dysfunction, a couple different phrases for it, but basically like my entire pelvic floor clenches involuntarily. And it's not supposed to do that. Like even though it's tight, it's so painful. Like you're never supposed to be in pain. And I wish someone had told me that. Because like you were saying, there's nothing on this. I didn't learn that in sex ed. I didn't learn that, anywhere. No one taught me that. So I was just having sex with pain because I was like, well, this is just normal. I just must be very, very tight. Or, they give you all these rumors and myths that, like, if you keep doing it, you'll get looser. And it's just not true. And it's extremely frustrating. And like you said with your friend who got injured, there's so many different ways and responses for the pelvic floor. Like for me, mine was responding to a nerve problem. For her, it was an injury. There's people that have trauma, religious trauma, are just born with it. And I use dilators. We kind of show that in the movie too. We do a whole thing about dilators. And like you said, like I remember that feeling after surgery of putting the smallest dilator and finally not having pain inserting that smallest one. And I want to say it was maybe the size of my pinky. Like, that's tiny. That's like barely a tampon. And it's such a win, but your pelvic floor is so important. It holds up so many muscles. It does so much stuff, but we don't know anything about it. And I didn't even know to go to pelvic floor physical therapy. I didn't know that was a thing or that I should be going because again, no one tells you about it. It's not a thing.
Yeah, it's not a thing, and even more, it's a taboo. And I am
Hmm.
a biologist, and I took my first Pilates teacher training after graduating, and I was very curious, like, how come there's nothing said about what's down there in the crotch? Like you see
Yeah.
like the biceps and the abdominals, and yeah,
Hmm.
like the super experts on anatomy. And I was like, okay, checking until I finally realized that, okay, they are not even, it's so taboo that it's not even mentioned that it's a taboo. Like they even said like don't go there, like it's completely omitted from existence what's down
Yeah.
there. Eh,
Well, yeah, and like you're using the phrases down there and stuff, like even to say the word vagina, vulva, pelvic floor, like those are such censored terms still? Like even just the act of saying it is like taboo, which is
yeah,
insane. So it's just a
like
part of our
yeah, the
body.
vagina or the anus, no.
Yeah, ain't it? Yeah, exactly. Like God forbid
or,
we use
or
the anatomically correct term for
lips, vulva, and or testicles, penis, glands,
any of
whatever,
it.
any of it. But men sexual anatomy terms are like a badge of honor. Like even we women feel like empowered of saying like, yeah, like he's a dickhead or whatever. And it's like
Yeah.
I am, but it's like, yeah, uh, I like to feel how my lips are more spacious when I am wearing a dress. It like, what? and and yeah, like I had to go to med school, like I infiltrated to the gynecobstetrics faculty library to
Nice.
find out what was exactly down there.
Yeah.
And then I found the pelvic floor. Ta-ta! There's
It's
a
real.
wonderful set of, and it's not just the sphincters, like it's not the urethra or the anus and the rectum. Like there's a whole
It's like a,
thing. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
and it's super complex and it assists breathing. It's so important for posture. You need the synergy of the pelvic floor to connect with the pelvic trochanteric muscles to calibrate the hip as you walk. Like the pelvic floor is really the epicenter of our anatomical organization. And it's not out of nowhere that there's a jara and the tandem and so many Eastern uh, movement technologies are founded on this. And even more, like there's this
Mm-hmm.
concept of the tandem, like the whole dynamic of breathing originates in the pelvic floor. And
Yep.
if you go deep into that and you connect the dots, you will find out that all religions are based on the almost mystical experience of functional breathing that can only happen when you
Mm.
have a functional pelvic floor. And then we have a very thick layer of taboo on top
Yep.
of that, especially for women. So that was my moment of revelation and liberation,
Yeah.
and like, oh yeah, the pelvic floor. And now I just want to teach all about it.
I
One of
love that.
Yeah,
Thank you for teaching about it because it's so, like you said, it's so important, until I think I went to my first pelvic floor PT appointment and I had somebody kind of showing me what was what. I had no idea. And it's like I'm living with it every day. It's supporting me every day. It's such a vital part of like existing, breathing, something we all have to do, walking, we all have to do that, pooping, all peeing, all that stuff that's like your everyday functions. And I had no idea what was even happening or when something was a problem. And it was so helpful just to even have somebody kind of put a mirror down there, show me, and like touch certain parts and be like, this is why and this is how it's all connected. Because again, yeah, like we never, like I would never have been like, you know what, my pelvis is in pain, I should go see someone. I just was like, oh, well, that's normal. And that's a terrible thing that's just so normal that you're like, ah, I'm not gonna go see anyone about it. Like vital, vital to the human body.
yeah, vital, and not something to just be like put aside, and even worse, like being gaslighted about it
Oh,
as if it's nothing. And I believe it's so important to call things by their name. Like I always begin like,
mhm.
yeah, the crotch, that thing down there, very interesting between your legs. And then I
Yep.
find, and then people like begin to loosen up,
Loosen
connect
up.
the dots. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then like I can talk about the but first I say the vaginal canal or the rectum
Yeah.
and the exterior aspect that is the anal sphincter. And then
Yeah.
finally, I can talk about the vagina and the anus. And then everyone goes out of the classroom talking about vaginas and anuses and penises as if it was talking about the nose, the cheeks, and the new makeup for those
Well,
parts,
and I
as it
love it
should be.
as it should be. Like it's the reason the film's actually called Lady Parts is it's a play on words because we even have a line in there about like we don't need to use the term lady parts, we can use actual terms, they're more accurate. And as the film goes
Yeah.
on, it starts out with they're not even saying the word vagina, and then by the end of it you're hearing it being said, all the time. And it's like, yeah, it's and I always say, I'm like, oh, if I was experiencing, a nerve condition or a muscle condition on my shoulder, like we would go get it checked out. I could tell everybody about it. There'd
Up
be no
front.
problems. But because of like that same thing happening on my vulva and my vagina, suddenly we're like, no, like can't talk about it. No cures, not covered by insurance, no research, medically gaslight, like the list goes on. And it's wild just because of like a term or a placement of where it is on your body. It's like, whoa, that's taboo. And like you said, like now, as we're talking, it's like, oh, I'm using vagina, I'm using rectum, I'm using any, just like normal terms about our body.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel it's so liberating
Hmm.
to call things by their name. It takes
Yes.
out the shame of it's not like, oh, my coochie, my hoo-ha. Like there are many, like it's trending over there, like, yeah, you can take your power. And it's like, okay, yeah, maybe you can like organize yourself better if you're aware of your pelvic floor, but like call it for its name. And I feel
Hmm.
that takes the shame out of it. It takes the taboo out of it, and it also sets the base for assessing if the parts are in a level to have a real conversation, an adult
Yes.
and mature and responsible conversation about that. It's like I am talking about my vagina, and no, I am not flirting with you, and it's not.
No.
No, and no, and I
No.
feel there's this huge thing of intertwining. the body with sex, and yes, sex is wonderful and it's
Hmm.
a physical fleshly experience, but no, the thing that you being aware of your pelvic floor or wanting to sense your pelvic floor is completely independent. Even the sensual experience of pleasure in the pelvic floor is independent from sex, and
Hmm.
at a very scientific base, the physiology is different. Like if you are into, like, yeah, experiencing your vulva during intercourse or sex or whatever, then your heart rate is different. The areas of your brain lighting up are different. Your breathing rate is different.
Hmm.
Like there's a whole physiology of arousal, and I feel the world still needs to get it. Like
Yeah.
my body is my body, and then the experience of sex that I may want to have or have had in my body, that's another layer. It's not the same.
Mm-mm. Well, and it's like I always say too when people are like, with your pelvic floor, I had someone approach me and they were saying, I'm only into women or people with vaginas, like sexually. So like a lot of doctors are like, "Oh, well, you don't have to worry about this because you're not looking to insert a penis." And she's like, "That's not the issue. The issue is I'm still in pain." That doesn't negate that I should be solving this and this isn't a real thing because I choose maybe a partner that doesn't have a penis. Like, again, it's all coming back to surrounded by the penis. But
Yeah,
like,
and what
yeah,
if I don't want to have a penis inside me, but I do want to have a cucumber? Like,
yeah, I don't know.
like fucking doctor, that's none of your business.
That's
What's
none of
your
your business. The
Yeah,
thing is,
what is your
my
business is that I am in pain and
I am
I'm
in
coming to
pain.
you for a solution as you seem to be the expert.
Well, yeah, it's like, your body should be functioning how it's meant to be functioning. It should work and you shouldn't be in pain. And like it frustrates me
Exactly.
because, if you have like a broken arm, you go to the doctor, they believe you, they do an x-ray, they check, they wrap it up. It's all covered, you're all good, and that's it. And then like something like this where you go in and you're saying the same thing, you're like, I think something's wrong. It's like you're shooed away or you're given some dismissive thing about how it's not a big deal, or, usually some joke about your husband liking it tight, which is awful. Yep, there's always
Yeah, the
that.
worst. Like,
The worst.
don't joke about it, and at least you that
Hmm.
you are supposed to be an authority that has this position of power
Yes.
because you are expected to be trustable and the source of a solution, and then you're wielding your power against someone that is vulnerable and is willing
Yes.
to offer their situation to your hands. So it's like a betrayal to the profession, to me. And
Yeah.
there's a great post in the tight-lipped account of your
Oh,
Instagram.
yeah. I actually am the social media
Yeah,
manager.
yeah,
Yeah.
that shared a research from NBC with
Yes.
some key findings
Oh,
of
from JAMA,
we,
JAMA. Yeah.
yeah, of women that went to the doctor, and 41% were told to relax.
Yep.
20% were told to drink alcohol. What? 21% were referred to the psychotherapy. 17% felt unsafe. 39% felt crazy. 20% felt not believed. And 26% felt belittled. So this is medical violence.
This
And
is,
again,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
and like a lot of these people with these conditions, it's so vulnerable and stigmatized already that you don't even know how hard it was for them to even make the appointment, let alone show up at the appointment, then get there. And then if that's the only experience, they're probably not coming back to. I mean, it's terrible. I mean, I participated in that study. I'm also a member of the New York Tightlip chapter. So I love them dearly. And it's disheartening because whenever I tell people, about how a doctor told me to try drinking wine at 19, they're like, that's awful. That must be this crazy doctor. And I'm like, no, look at the statistics. I was like, all these people are getting told this. Like, there's a bigger problem out here. It's not just, this solo experience I'm having. It's a nationwide global problem.
Nationwide global problem parallel with medical negligence and
Yes.
this macho fucking patriarchy endorsed even from medical women that are doctors. And I mean,
Yes.
14 million women just in the States have experienced it. It's not
Yeah.
like a mythic thing. No, it's a massive situation. And
Massive.
yeah, massive.
And
And I feel it's so important. And I want to know, like, if you can recall the moment, or at least one of the moments, where you finally found like liberation from the weight of
mm,
the stigma and the experience itself. For me, was like sneaking into gynecology uh, library, because you couldn't get in without a credential of being a student. But I found the way, and it was
yeah.
like, yeah, I have the answer. Sadly, to know that I was the only one in my generation that even dared to question about what's down there.
Yeah,
And
what do you even ask?
yeah, but that was the moment where I felt like, almost as if all that shame and pressure was like washed off from me. So can you recall like a moment where you felt like, because you had the situation itself and the
Yeah.
confusion. You could talk to your parents, but still you went to the doctor and the doctor told you to drink wine, and you went through painful intercourse. So it's like pain and sex and love. It's like confusing. So when did it happen? Like ah,
Yeah.
the liberation.
I think for me, it's been a slow process over the past 10 years because I've been working on this film for about 9 years now, in terms of writing it, to producing it, to shooting it, editing, the film festival, you name it. And I always say there's like three different phases with it. And it kind of mirrors my own comfort level and my own liberation with it. Because the first was actually just writing about it, but that still was hidden because, I'm only showing it to my classmates. I went back to school. And I was only showing to classmates or close friends. So again, it wasn't fully out there, and I'd be really cagey with it. And then it was like I put the Indiegogo page up when we first started, collecting donations for filming. And that was a huge moment for me because I said, when this goes up, it has my personal story on there. It talks about the film, and like anyone can go see this. So, I'm going to my 10-year high school reunion. Anyone can go read this now. And, people would come up to me and talk to me about it. And it was no longer my story to tell. It was, them coming to me saying, here's what I'm experiencing and here's what's going on with me. And, I have something similar. And I think the really big one for me was when we moved over to doing the film festivals. Now, the people that are coming in the audience are strangers. They're not the cast and crew. They're not friends and family. They're not, acquaintances or something like that from my hometown. It's like truly a stranger that is coming to see this film and coming to see this story. And what was so liberating was after the first screening being like, you know what? How awesome, and how cool that all these people came to see it. The response was awesome. The questions were awesome. And I found that every single screening, strangers would come up to me. They would tell me all about their vaginal problems and be like, I've never told anyone this before. Or, I'm having
Wow.
this issue, or my friend has this issue, my partner has this issue, you name it. And then they leave, and I'd be like, I didn't get their name, but I know everything going on about their hoo-ha right now. But it was kind of that liberating moment where you start to realize that, like, by you being liberal and opening up, you're leading to someone else's journey able to do that. And it's a really empowering thing when you can finally be like, you know what? I don't care anymore about what people think. I'm doing this because I know how good I feel now, being so open about this. And like, I mean, you ask anybody in my life, it's like, I'm that vagina girl now, where it's like, oh yeah, you need something with this, go ask her. Or, she'll talk your ear off about it. And I'm like so happy. If you told me 10 years ago that like I would be where I am now, like talking to you the way I am, so openly, so candidly, I would have thought I was like, no way. Like I was, way more shy, way more reserved and scared and stigmatized. And so it's been a long process for me. And I think it's a long process for a lot of people, because we're just constantly taught in our head, like, don't talk about it, don't talk about it, don't talk about it. And be submissive, be submissive. And so finally, when you break free of that, it's like when one wall shatters, all of them start to shatter. And I literally have never felt better being able to just be so open and not really caring. Who knows? Because who cares? You know?
Because who cares?
Who
Yeah,
cares?
ah,
The right
it's
people
huge.
aren't going to care, aren't going to love me any less because of it. They're going to understand and be there for me. And I'm hoping that they can then do that for other people that decide they want to talk about it.
Yeah, like people naturally percolate, and maybe they will circle back in 10
Yeah.
years or when it's the right moment for them. But
Hmm.
it's gold what you say, like if you have the opportunity, like the inner opportunity, the inner like spark of
Hmm.
curiosity and like I don't know, brazen impudence to do something that is not expected from you or even from any woman at your age, and you
Yes.
allow yourself to be open and liberal, you're leading other people's journey.
Yes, you're truly leading the way.
Yeah, and something that I really love about your film and what you're doing
So,
is that you're providing the words for people to name it,
yes.
so it's not that thing that I am
Mm-mm.
suffering down there. No,
Yeah, no,
there's a word, there's a term, and you can name it,
you can name it.
and it's out there, and then it's like, okay, now it's part of the conversation. Like, yeah, vaginismus, vaginal pain, like you can have a lot of nerve endings, and then things get painful, and
There's
and
terms,
I
yeah.
guess, yeah, and I mean, probably your case or other cases that I have read in your social media are like really clinical cases, but I I am imagining, speculating that if 14 million women have like this condition of pain in the lady parts, there must be way many more women that experience not chronic acute pain, but mild and intermittent pain. Like
Oh, yeah.
maybe there are women that have not that many nerve endings, so to be like something that needs to be addressed like clinically and surgery and etc. But there can be mild, and like it's the pain is not so bad that you can like cope in an easier way. And I feel this film is, and awareness about the topic is very important.
Hmm.
So mild conditions are not brushed aside for not being like so important or so demanding. On the
Yeah.
contrary, like it's very important like to reclaim our right to fully be
Mhm.
alive, meaning healthy
Yeah.
and enjoying the body and the pleasure, especially intimate pleasure, which can be so challenging. Even if you don't have any trauma, even if you
Yeah, it can be
don't,
challenging. It's hard.
it can be challenging because we, female anatomy, like the spot of the clitoris that made you come yesterday is nowhere to be found. Like every day
Yeah, now
from
I
you
can't see it.
inquire, yeah, like it's like okay, there's a whole thing about our own bodies and feminine pleasure. So I have two last questions.
Yeah.
One is about sensual pleasure, not necessarily sexual pleasure, but
Mhm.
how have you found a liberation to just enjoy the experience of your pelvic floor, like the simple experience of
Yeah.
sensing this area that can be sensed by simply breathing or like just having a good pee, urinating when you're on the highway and you finally find a gas station and it's like, ah,
Oh,
like,
yeah. Oh my
like,
God.
like yeah, pleasure and sensuality in the pelvic
Yeah.
floor. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think, and I've said it before, I feel like a lot of times what we're taught in terms of pleasure and sex is very like penis centric. It's always like you put penis in vagina and that is sex and that is it. And, for the longest time, I was part of that, mindset where I was like, well, I can't put penis in vagina, so I'm just never supposed to experience pleasure or anything. And there's so many things that can be pleasure and sensual and intimate. There's so many other ways to feel that. Like you said, and sometimes it's just breathing, it's giving someone a massage, it's holding hands, it's talking, it's communicating, it's, you know, if you have a great clit, there's that too. So I think, and for me it was a lot of like self-pleasure too, because I feel like especially women, we're not kind of given the same like self-pleasure, know-how. Like I feel like in movies and TVs you always see it's so funny. It's a 13-year-old boy and he's jacking off into a sock. And you never really see like the women's perspective of that. It's kind of like, no, 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 that's shameful. You don't touch yourself there. You don't do that. That's not something you do. You're gonna get yourself loose. And in reality, no, like you know your body better than anyone else. And how else are you supposed to explore it if you don't, explore it yourself and kind of see what you like, kind of see what parts you want to take. And, even if you have a partner or someone, it's like that communication of trying things, being open. And like, because I always say, I'm like, people are like, oh, well, I have some pain. And I'm like, like they're like the normal amount. I'm like, the normal amount is 0. You're not supposed to have pain. And so if you are, then, go to a pelvic floor PT, start looking into resources and like making sure that you're looking for other ways to find pleasure because penetration isn't the end all be all. It's not this one big wonderful thing, and if you can't do that, then your life's over. Um, and I wish someone had kind of told me that. Maybe, when I was a bit younger and just starting to become sexually active, because it would have, changed the game for me.
Well, this is great. Like we go back to the reframing of penicentric
Yeah.
mindset that,
Yep.
yeah, penetration is not the end all be all,
Yeah.
especially for feminine pleasure. Like we
No, it's a
have
clit.
like, I think 14,000 nerve
Yes.
endings just in the penis. And I think men have in the clitoris and men have
Yeah.
in the penis like 8,000. Like we have like
Maybe more.
50% more than them. And
Yes.
the entry of the vagina has a lot of nerve endings, but not that much. And the inner part of the vagina is less sensitive and it has an important desensitization aspect for childbirth. Like
Yes.
it's good that we don't have all those nerve endings of the clitoris inside the vagina because of my childbirth. Though I have there's also a caveat to that because I have like two very close testimonies, one of a colleague and the other was a best friend of an aunt that had mind-blowing orgasms during childbirth. So
Yes.
definitely there's way more to explore, but yeah, like very important to put things into perspective and things into place. Like, okay, if you're experiencing vaginismus and pain related with the vaginal sphincter entry or inside or whatever, like that doesn't mean that you should join a convent and become a nun. As
No.
I was advised to one of the ladies that shared their
A tight-lipped.
testimony at tight lips,
Yes.
like, yeah,
It's
if you have
awful.
pain during intercourse, become a nun. Like, what?
What? Like,
I mean, it's so aggressive that it goes beyond aggressiveness into the ridicule and the ignorance of the person and the macho mentality. And again, it's like, okay, let's put things into perspective. And there's way
mhm.
more than penetration to feminine pleasure. And while you
Yes.
sort out the situation with an expert, with a PT, don't neglect your sexuality. if
Mm-mm.
you if you are in the mood, if you want to try, and also, like, the, take the reins by your own hands, like,
Yeah.
give yourself that pleasure. Don't wait to have like
No.
the 25 conversation on the dating apps to filter if
Yeah.
that's a good candidate. No, like, it's your body, it's your
Hmm.
choice,
It's your body, your
and
choice.
it's your body, it's your choice, but really we need to act on this. And I am very happy that we are having this very, very, very important conversation. So, what are like key symptoms to become aware of, to
Mm.
say, like, for the sensualists here, like, okay, if I am experiencing this, I need to go to a doctor. Which would be the main ones?
Yeah. Well, I want to say too, I'm not a doctor, so I want to start with
Yeah.
that. But as a patient, the main things were like any kind of itching, burning, stabbing feeling anywhere in the vulva area too. Like it's not just, vagina, there's all the outer layers too. So if you have labia, majora, labia minora, the vestibule, which is that opening area, the urethra. If you're having any problems peeing, pooping, I know it's not what people want to talk about, but it's like, oh, are you having trouble, like, getting everything out? Are you having urinary incontinence? Are you actually having problems, with constipation? Are you having problems, where you're getting up to pee all the time, or you have like you feel like you have a UTI, but you don't? That's a huge, or you feel like you have a yeast infection, but you don't. And, it's all these things where we just kind of, and I think for the biggest like piece of advice too is like stop, like if a doctor doesn't believe you right away, then like go find someone who does. Because if you go somewhere and you can feel it in your gut. You're like, I know this person's belittling me, and there's this weird power dynamic because like you said, that's like they're this high up doctor, they should know everything, and it's like such a weird power dynamic. But there are good doctors out there. Like don't stop until you find somebody that believes you and is going to work with you. And, your body should be functioning properly. If you feel like you have a UTI, you feel like you need to pee, you feel itchy or burny, or, even if it's not every day, it's still worth it for you to live a life that's like pain-free and, working healthily in a human body is, should be the goal.
Yeah, should be the goal. Living living pain free. And what you said, like, the reference of pain should be having zero pain. Like, if you have
Zero.
little pain, you gotta do something about, which includes assessing the proper medical expert.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
it's part of the responsibility package, like, audition them, like, because doctors have been entitled way too long with their god complex of being all knowers, and they are pretty much ignorance beyond the specific realm of their expertise. And I mean, it's great that they are experts, but that doesn't give them the right, and
Mm-mm.
it's technical medical negligence to express a medical opinion beyond the the realm of their practice. And a lot of doctors are just ignorance about feminine anatomy, even though they are gynecologists, like that.
Yep.
Because even, and we have to understand where all of this is coming from. Like, anatomy books not talking about the pelvic floor at all. And
No.
I mean, even me, I kind of embarrassed to confess that it was 4 weeks ago that I really, really, really researched the shape of the vaginal canal, because
Yeah.
I was like indoctrinated by the paradigm that we all have been indoctrinated with, is that the
Hmm.
vagina has the shape of a penis envelope, as if the vagina was like
Yes.
a condom shaped, but inside
Yep.
your body. And it's like, no, it's she's very beautiful. I'm
Beautiful.
gonna share that article here below in the description of the podcast, and also the link of the research of medical gaslighting that you shared
Yes.
on Tight-Lipped. And just to wrap it up, what are some words of wisdom you would share for women in general?
Oh man. So much. Um, I have a bunch of
Share them
takeaways.
all. Share
Say
them
them all.
all.
Okay, we're gonna go through all of them. I was like, one, you know your body better than anyone else. Unfortunately, in this system, you're going to have to advocate for yourself, and
Yes.
you probably will know more than some of your doctors. And believe in yourself and don't stop till you find the correct person for you. Also, pleasure isn't just penis and vagina. Go explore, go figure out what works for you, and you know. And also, if you are having a problem, go see a pelvic floor therapist, go find a doctor. You don't have to live with pain. No one should be living with pain. And especially for women, I feel like it's so hard to put ourselves out there and, feel like this is something we can talk about. But I promise you, the minute you start doing it, you're going to watch as everybody else in your life and around you starts doing the same thing. And you might find that they probably are going through something similar or know someone going through something similar. And, the statistic about 14 million, I truly believe it's so much more because there's such a shame and stigma that so many people wouldn't even talk about it. And so, you know, this is a this is a problem. This is something we got to deal with. And just by you, even like you said, putting a word to it, putting a name to it, already starts breaking away at that shame and that stigma and gets us, closer to a world where we can just talk about it, like a broken arm.
Yeah, we should be able to talk about everything that happens in our vagina,
Mm-hmm.
vestibulum, vulva, lips,
Yes.
clitoris. I am taking using the
All
the
of it.
spotlight to say everything that we have been shushing for way too long. Yeah, so relieving
Yeah.
and clarifying to talk about things by their name. Thank you so much, Bonnie. Tell us, how can we watch Lady Parts?
Oh, thank you. So actually right now we're raising funds so that we can do a road show and get Lady Parts onto streaming so it can be accessible to everyone. So
Yes.
if you visit us at ladyparts.com, we have info there. And if you go, we're on Instagram at ladyparts_film. If you go to the link in our bio, there's a screening interest form. If you fill it out, it'll just give us what city or where you're located so we know, we can come and do a screening near you. We'd love to come and meet you and put on panels and sexual health panels and get education out there because, our mission's also educational. And so the goal is let's do a roadshow, let's get this into theaters, and then also let's get this streaming somewhere where it's accessible to everyone. So, follow us on Instagram. We post updates all the time about screenings and events, and hopefully it'll be available to everyone soon next year.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Bonnie. It's been such a pleasure to
Thank
talk with you.
you. Seriously, thank you so much. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you. And also, thank you, Sensualists, for being here. Do spread the word. Do call your and others lady parts by their name. Go,
Yep.
yeah, go to ladyparts.com and support the funding for screening everywhere. And do a community and organize your mom, your aunts, and their friends to make a screening at the university, at your school, at your
Yes.
church, everywhere on your blog.
Yes.
Yeah, because this is so important for you, for the women that have been before you, that nurture you, and for the coming generations. This is really, it's revolutionary, and it should be just something natural, but it's part of opening way, and it's time. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Go to Instagram and follow ladyparts_film. Fill the form that is in the link in
Yes.
bio. And
I
yeah,
can give you all the links too.
yeah. Okay,
Absolutely.
you can find them below here. And yeah, also, if you haven't already, go grab the free guide to awaken sensuality at my website, candiaraquel.com, www.candiaraquel. And until next time, remember to take the time to sense the fire of your lady parts so you can share the flame.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much, Bonnie. It's been such